What last meal did you order on death row that saved your life? They came for my meal order at 6 a.m., 3 days before my scheduled execution. The guard handed me a laminated menu through the slot, same one they'd shown me twice before, but I'd kept saying I needed more time to decide. Like choosing between chicken or steak actually mattered when you'd be dead by Friday. I was on death row for killing a guy named Marcus Chen during a gas station robbery in 2019. The whole thing was caught on surveillance cameras. My face, my jacket, my gun. I'd been maintaining my innocence for 6 years, but the evidence was overwhelming. Even my own lawyer had stopped returning my calls after the appeals ran out. That morning, I finally picked something. Not because I'd made peace with dying, but because I was tired of thinking about it. I wrote down my order and handed it back through the slot. Grilled cheese sandwich with tomato soup, large order of fries from that burger place on Maple Street, vanilla milkshake, and a slice of apple pie from Sarah's Bakery on 4th Avenue. The guard looked at my paper for a long time, longer than seemed normal. Then he asked me to repeat the order out loud, which I did. He wrote everything down in his own notebook, asked me twice about the specific locations, and then walked away without saying anything else. An hour later, a different guard showed up, one I'd never seen before. He asked me the same questions about my meal order. What bakery specifically? What burger place? I told him again, and he left looking worried. That afternoon, the warden himself came to my cell. In 6 years, he'd never visited me personally. He stood there staring at me through the bars, asking about my meal order again, but this time with different questions. Had anyone suggested these specific items? Had I discussed this order with other inmates? With family members? I told him no, that I just picked foods I liked. He asked why those specific restaurants. I said because that's where those foods were best. The grilled cheese from the diner where my mom used to take me. The pie from the bakery near my old apartment. He wrote everything down and left without explaining why it mattered. The next morning, my execution was postponed. No explanation given. The guard who brought my breakfast wouldn't look at me. I could hear phones ringing constantly in the admin offices. Voices raised in discussion I couldn't quite make out. Then lawyers started showing up. Not my public defender, but new people in expensive suits who asked to see me one at a time. They wanted to know about my meal order. They wanted to know about March 15th, 2019. They wanted to know if I'd ever been to Sarah's Bakery before. I told them the truth. I'd gone there every Sunday with my girlfriend Amy before we broke up. It was our routine. We'd get pie and walk around downtown. The lawyers exchanged looks and kept writing. The warden came back that evening with a detective I'd never met. They asked me to describe exactly what I did on March 15th, 2019, the night of the murder. I told this story 100 times, but I told it again. I was home alone. Amy and I had broken up 2 weeks before. I was depressed, watching TV, fell asleep around 9 p.m. The detective asked what I'd eaten that night. I said leftover Chinese food from the fridge. He asked if I was sure I hadn't gone out. I said I was sure. Then he asked about my meal order again. Why those specific places? I was getting frustrated. Because I like those foods. Because those places meant something to me. Because if I'm going to die, I want to remember the good things. He asked if I knew that Sarah's Bakery had burned down in January 2019, 2 months before the murder, that it never reopened. My stomach dropped. That can't be right. I'd gotten pie from there in March. I remembered it clearly. Amy and I went there the Sunday before we broke up, which was the last week of February. The detective pulled out a photograph. Security camera footage from Sarah's Bakery dated February 24th, 2019. 2 people visible inside. The timestamp showed 2:47 p.m. He pointed to the figures in the grainy image. That's you, isn't it? With your girlfriend Amy? And that's when I realized the meal order I'd written down was impossible. Because Sarah's Bakery didn't exist on March 15th when Marcus Chen was killed, which meant the person in that gas station security footage couldn't have been me. Because that's when they showed me who was really wearing my jacket that night. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below. The detective's face changes as he slides another photograph across the table. It's Amy, wearing my jacket, the same jacket visible in the gas station robbery footage. The timestamp shows March 15th, 2019, 10:43 p.m. This is from a traffic camera 2 blocks from where Marcus Chen was killed, he says, his voice level but his eyes watching my reaction carefully. Notice anything? My hands are shaking as I pick up the photo. It's grainy but unmistakable. Amy wearing my black jacket with the torn left pocket. The jacket I thought had been stolen from my apartment during a break-in back in February. The jacket I reported missing to the police, who never followed up. That's my jacket, I managed to say. The one I couldn't find after we broke up. The Detective Ramirez, according to the badge clipped to his belt, nods slowly. We have reason to believe your girlfriend Amy was involved with Marcus Chen, romantically involved. The warden, who's been standing silently by the door, steps forward. Mr. Harris, we need to understand exactly what happened. Your execution has been postponed indefinitely while we investigate new evidence. Detective Ramirez pulls out more photographs from a manila folder. This is a handwriting analysis comparing the note used during the robbery to samples of your handwriting and Amy's. He points to highlighted sections showing loop patterns, pressure points, and spacing. The robbery note matches Amy's handwriting, not yours. My mind is spinning. For 6 years, I've been telling anyone who would listen that I didn't do it, that I was home alone that night. For 6 years, nobody believed me. Why would Amy? I start, then stop, unable to finish the question. We found something else, Ramirez continues, pulling out a printed transcript. These are text messages recovered from Marcus Chen's phone. They were deleted but recovered during a recent technology update to our evidence system. I scan the messages, my stomach turning. Amy, the 10th of March 2019. We need to do it Friday. He'll be home alone all night. Marcus, the 10th of March 2019. What about the jacket? Still have it? Amy, the 12th of March 2019. Got it when I picked up my stuff. He won't even notice it's missing. Marcus, the 14th of March 2019. Remember the plan. In and out. No one gets hurt. Amy, the 15th of March 2019. 8:17 p.m. On my way. Bringing the gun too. I look up, my throat tight. The gun was mine too, from my father's collection. I reported it missing the same time as the jacket. Ramirez nods. We know. That report was buried in the case file. Never made it to trial. Why would she do this? I ask. The question directed more at myself than anyone in the room. The warden clears his throat. Mr. Harris, we're reopening your case. Your meal order specifically mentioning Sarah's Bakery triggered a review that's uncovered serious flaws in the original investigation. What happened to Marcus Chen? I ask. If Amy was involved with him, Detective Ramirez exchanges a glance with the warden before answering. We believe something went wrong during the robbery. The security footage shows two people arguing before the shooting. We only had a clear view of one face, the person we thought was you. I sit back in my chair, trying to process everything. 6 years of my life gone. 6 years of being called a murderer, of my family disowning me, of preparing to die for something I didn't do. I want to talk to her, I say suddenly. I want to talk to Amy. The warden hesitates, then nods. We can arrange a phone call. She's been brought in for questioning. 3 hours later, I'm sitting in a private room with a prison phone pressed to my ear. The line connects with a click. Hello? Amy's voice is exactly as I remember it. Why? It's the only word I can manage. There's a long silence before she answers. Jason, I didn't think they'd give you the death penalty. I thought maybe a few years. A few years? My voice rises. They were going to kill me in 3 days, Amy. 3 days. I'm sorry, she whispers, but the words sound hollow. Were you dating Marcus while we were together? I ask. Another pause. Yes. And the robbery? Was that your idea or his? We needed money, she says, as if that explains everything. Marcus had debts, bad ones. People were threatening him. So you decided to frame me? The anger I've been holding back starts to surface. You stole my jacket, my gun. I didn't think anyone would get hurt, she interrupts. It was supposed to be simple, in and out, but the clerk wouldn't open the register, and Marcus got angry, and then he ended up dead, and I ended up on death row. I finished for her. I didn't kill him, she says quickly. I swear I didn't. Then who did? The line goes silent for so long I think she's hung up. Finally, her voice comes back, barely audible. I can't tell you that. You owe me the truth, Amy. 6 years of my life, my family, everything. She starts crying, soft hitching sobs that once would have broken my heart. Now they just make me tired. I'll tell the detective, she finally says. Not over the phone. I need protection first. Protection from who? I press. I have to go, she says abruptly. They're saying my time is up. Amy, wait. I'm sorry, Jason. I really am. The line goes dead. I hang up the phone and look through the glass at Detective Ramirez, who's been monitoring the call. His expression tells me he's recorded everything. She's hiding something, I say. He nods. We know. We've got officers bringing her in for a formal statement tomorrow morning. What happens to me now? I ask. For now, you stay here while we process the evidence, the warden says from the doorway. But I've already spoken with the DA. Based on what we've found, they're preparing emergency motions to vacate your conviction. I should feel relieved, but all I feel is numb. 6 years of my life gone because the woman I loved set me up to take the fall for a robbery gone wrong. There's something else, Detective Ramirez says, sliding one final document across the table. We found this in Amy's apartment yesterday. It's a bank statement showing a deposit of $50,000 made on March 17th, 2019, 2 days after the murder. The source is listed as insurance settlement. What insurance policy? I ask. That's what we'd like to know, Ramirez says, because as far as we can tell, neither Amy nor Marcus Chen had any legitimate insurance policies that would pay out that kind of money. I stare at the paper, wondering how many more lies are waiting to be uncovered. How deep does this go? And who really killed Marcus Chen that night? Get some rest, Mr. Harris, the warden says, standing to leave. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. As they escort me back to my cell, no longer death row, but still prison, I think about Sarah's Bakery and its apple pie. A simple meal request that saved my life because I remembered something that couldn't possibly exist on the night of the murder. Sometimes, the smallest details make all the difference. I wake up to the sound of a guard unlocking my cell door. It's been 3 days since the phone call with Amy. 3 days of waiting and wondering what she told the detectives. The guard, not my usual one, gestures for me to follow him. You've got a visitor, he says, his tone neutral but his eyes curious. I'm led to a private visitation room, not the usual crowded visiting area with its bolted down tables and watchful guards. Detective Ramirez is waiting inside, along with a woman in a crisp navy suit who introduces herself as Caroline Weber, my new attorney. The state has appointed Miss Weber to handle your case, Ramirez explains. Given the circumstances, they felt you needed more specialized representation. Weber doesn't waste time on pleasantries. I filed an emergency appeal based on the new evidence, she says, opening a sleek leather portfolio. The surveillance footage, handwriting analysis, and text messages create substantial doubt about your conviction. What did Amy say? I ask, looking at Ramirez. His expression darkens. That's why I'm here. She came in for questioning yesterday. And she admitted to everything, he says, watching my reaction. She confirmed she was dating Marcus Chen while you were together, said the robbery was his idea, but she helped plan it. My stomach twists. Even though I knew it was coming, hearing it confirmed makes it real in a way the evidence alone didn't. She claims she didn't expect anyone to get hurt, Ramirez continues. Says she thought it would just be a simple robbery, but things went wrong. Did she say who killed Marcus? I ask. Ramirez and Weber exchange glances. She says it wasn't her. Weber answers carefully, but her story keeps changing. First, she claimed Marcus was shot by the clerk in self-defense. Then she suggested a third person was involved. There's more, Ramirez says, sliding a photograph across the table. It's a gun, my father's, a .38 revolver that went missing along with my jacket. We recovered this from a storage unit rented under Amy's mother's maiden name. Ballistics confirms it's the murder weapon. I stare at the gun, memories flooding back of my father teaching me to shoot when I was 12, explaining the responsibility that came with it. The same gun I'd inherited when he died, kept locked in a case, and reported missing after the break-in. Her fingerprints are on it, Ramirez continues, along with traces of gunshot residue that match the samples taken from the crime scene. So she killed him, I say, the words feeling strange in my mouth. We believe so, Ramirez nods, but proving it beyond reasonable doubt requires more than fingerprints and GSR. We need her to confess or provide a consistent account that matches the evidence, which she hasn't done, Weber adds. There's something else, Ramirez says, pulling out another file. We executed a search warrant on Amy's apartment yesterday. Found these. He shows me photographs of items laid out on a a table, my watch that disappeared during a shower, the signed baseball my grandfather gave me that Amy had insisted must have been lost during our move, even my college class ring I thought I'd lost at the gym. She was stealing from me, I say, the betrayal cutting deeper than I expected. All this time, not just stealing, Weber corrects, collecting items with your DNA and fingerprints. The jacket was just the most obvious example. She was setting me up long before the robbery, I realize aloud. But why? For Marcus? Ramirez shakes his head. We don't think so. Based on the recovered texts, their relationship only began in January 2019, around the time Sarah's bakery burned down. The timing clicks into place, 2 months before the murder. Exactly, Weber says. And here's where it gets interesting. We found insurance documents in Amy's storage unit. Marcus had a life insurance policy worth $250,000, taken out just 3 weeks before his death. With Amy as the beneficiary, Ramirez adds, the pieces align with sickening clarity. The $50,000 deposit you showed me, just the first installment, Ramirez confirms. The insurance company was suspicious because of the policy's recency and Marcus's murder during a robbery. They released part of the money while investigating. So this was never about the robbery, I say, feeling numb. She wanted him dead for the insurance money, and she needed a fall guy. That's our working theory, Weber agrees. The robbery was just a cover for murder, and you were the perfect patsy recently dumped boyfriend with access to the murder weapon. I lean back, trying to process the calculated cruelty of it all. 6 years of my life stolen, not in a moment of passion or desperation, but through months of careful planning. We've scheduled a formal hearing for next Monday, Weber says, checking her calendar. The judge has already indicated she's receptive to our motion based on the preliminary evidence. So I could be out next week? I ask, hardly daring to hope. It's possible, she says cautiously, but we need Amy's testimony to seal it. Is she cooperating? I ask Ramirez. His expression tells me everything before he speaks. She was, until this morning. What happened this morning? She's gone, he says simply. Didn't show up for our scheduled interview. Officers went to her apartment and found it cleared out. Clothes gone, passport missing. She ran, I say, the realization hitting me like a physical blow. The day before my hearing. We've issued an APB and frozen the accounts we know about, Ramirez assures me. But she had a 24-hour head start. Weber closes her portfolio with a snap. This doesn't change our approach. The evidence is compelling even without her testimony. We'll proceed with the hearing as scheduled. After they leave, I'm escorted back to my cell, my mind racing. Amy is out there somewhere, running from the truth with blood on her hands and my life in tatters behind her. The same woman who used to fall asleep on my shoulder during movie nights, who knew exactly how I liked my coffee, who once nursed me through the flu with homemade soup and bad jokes. That night, I dream of Sarah's bakery before the fire, the warm smell of cinnamon and butter, the bell above the door that jingled when we walked in, the way the afternoon light slanted through the windows at 2:47 p.m. on February 24th, 2019, when the security camera captured us sharing a slice of apple pie. In my dream, Amy smiles at me across the table, her fork poised over our shared dessert, and whispers, "Some things are worth killing for." I wake up in a cold sweat, the ghost of her voice still echoing in my ears. 6 years on death row, and I never truly knew her at all. Tomorrow, the hunt for Amy begins in earnest, and I'll be waiting in my cell, counting the hours until Monday's hearing, hoping that justice delayed won't become justice denied. Again, the news breaks on a Tuesday morning. Nationwide manhunt for Amy Davidson, wanted for questioning in connection with the murder of Marcus Chen and the framing of an innocent man. My face appears next to hers in split screen on every major network. The contrast stark, her smiling driver's license photo against my haggard mugshot from 6 years ago. Weber calls to tell me the media attention is good for our case. Public pressure will make it harder for her to hide, she explains, and it's generating sympathy for you, the wrongfully convicted man waiting for justice while his ex flees the country. I watch the coverage from a small TV in the prison common room, surrounded by inmates who've suddenly decided I'm worth talking to now that I'm almost certainly innocent. 6 years of isolation, and now everyone wants to be my friend. They'll find her, man, says Darnell, an armed robbery convict who's been here longer than me. Woman like that, she ain't built for running. I'm not so sure. Amy was always meticulous, always 3 steps ahead. The Amy I thought I knew wouldn't have fled without a plan. Detective Ramirez visits 2 days later with updates that confirm my suspicions. We found 3 more storage units, he says, spreading photographs across the table. All rented under different names, but paid for with money traced back to that insurance payout. The photos show boxes of documents, wigs, makeup kits, and what looks like professional-grade ID making equipment. She's been planning this for years, Ramirez continues. We found passports with her photo under 6 different names, driver's licenses from 4 states, credit cards, bank accounts all established years ago and maintained with regular activity. So, she's gone, I say, feeling hollow. Not necessarily. He pulls out another photo, a woman with dark hair and glasses at what looks like a border checkpoint. This was taken at the Peace Arch crossing into Canada yesterday morning. Border agent thought something was off about her paperwork and flagged it, but she was gone before they could detain her. I stare at the grainy image. The hair is wrong, the glasses unfamiliar, but I'd know those eyes anywhere. That's her. We know, Ramirez nods. Canadian authorities are cooperating. They've got alerts at all major transportation hubs. She won't use those. I say automatically. Amy hates flying, gets carsick on long drives. If she's in Canada, she's staying somewhere quiet, somewhere she can blend in. Ramirez looks at me with renewed interest. Any specific places she mentioned? Family connections? Favorite spots? I shake my head. Nothing in Canada. At least, nothing she told me about. I pause, remembering something. She did have a college roommate in Vancouver. Melissa something. They stayed in touch. Melissa Chen? Ramirez asks sharply. The name hits me like a physical blow. Chen? Like Marcus? Marcus's sister, Ramirez confirms. We interviewed her after his death. She claimed they hadn't spoken in years due to a family dispute. Amy never mentioned that connection, I say, trying to process this new information. She told me Melissa was just an old friend from college. More lies, Ramirez says grimly. We're getting a warrant for Melissa Chen's residence and phone records now. The hearing is postponed while the investigation continues, but Weber assures me it's just a delay, not a setback. The evidence against Amy is mounting daily. A week passes with no word, then 2. I mark the days on my cell wall, a habit I thought I'd abandoned years ago when the appeals ran out. Now each mark represents 1 day closer to freedom, not death. On the 17th day, Ramirez returns with Weber Weber and the warden. Their expressions tell me everything before they speak. They found her, I say. Ramirez nods. Trying to board a ferry to Victoria. Officer recognized her from the alerts. Did she run? No, Weber says. She surrendered without incident. Asked for a lawyer immediately. Smart, I mutter. Not smart enough, Ramirez counters. We found her laptop. She'd been researching countries without extradition treaties. Had tickets to Thailand via Australia booked for next week. Where is she now? I ask. County Detention Center, the warden answers. Being processed for transfer here. Here? The thought of Amy in the same prison, breathing the same recycled air, makes my skin crawl. Different wing, the warden clarifies. But yes, here. The DA wants her close for questioning. 3 days later, Weber brings me transcripts of Amy's initial interrogation. I read them alone in my cell, heart pounding. Detective Ramirez. Why did you run, Miss Davidson? Amy Davidson. Wouldn't you? I'm being set up for murder. Detective Ramirez. By whom? Amy Davidson. I don't know. Maybe the same people who killed Marcus. Detective Ramirez. And who would that be? Amy Davidson. I can't. I need protection before I say anything else. Detective Ramirez. We found the gun in your storage unit. Your fingerprints were on it. Amy Davidson. No response. Detective Ramirez. We found the insurance policy. $250,000 with you as the beneficiary. Amy Davidson. That was Marcus's idea. He said something about taking care of me if anything happened to him. Detective Ramirez. 3 weeks before he was killed. Amy Davidson. Long pause. I want to speak to Jason. Detective Ramirez. Mr. Harris? Why? Amy Davidson. Because he'll understand. He knows me. The real me. I throw the transcript against the wall. The real her? Which version would that be? The woman who loved me? The woman who stole from me? The woman who set me up to die for her crime? The next morning, Ramirez and Weber are back, this time with a recording device. She's refusing to talk to anyone but you, Ramirez explains. The DA thinks it might be worth a shot. She might slip up, say something incriminating. And if she doesn't, I ask, then we proceed with what we have, Weber says confidently. The evidence is substantial, Jason. Her confession would just make things cleaner. I agree to the meeting, not for the case, but for myself. 6 years of questions deserve answers. The interview room is small and sterile. Amy sits across the table, handcuffed to a metal ring bolted to the surface. She looks smaller than I remember, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. Prison orange washing out her complexion. No makeup, no jewelry, nothing of the polished woman I once knew. Jason, she says when I sit down. Her voice is the same, and it triggers something visceral in me, muscle memory of happier times that my brain hasn't fully erased. Why? I ask, the same question I asked during our phone call weeks ago. She looks down at her hands. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Like what, me on death row? You running? Marcus dead? Any of it, she whispers. It got out of control. I lean forward. Then tell me what happened. The truth, Amy. You owe me that much. She takes a deep breath. Marcus and I were dating. You know that part. What you don't know is that he was Melissa's brother. We met through her years ago, before you and I even started dating. So you lied about that too. She nods. Marcus had gambling debts. Dangerous people were threatening him. The robbery was his idea. Quick cash to pay them off. And the insurance policy? Also his idea, she says quickly. He said it was just in case something happened to him. I didn't think. She trails off. You didn't think he'd actually die? I finish for her. No, she says, looking up at me with those eyes I once found so honest. I didn't think I'd kill him. The room goes still. Behind the one-way glass, I know Ramirez and Weber are leaning forward, recording every word. You killed him, I repeat, keeping my voice level. It was an accident, she says, and for the first time, tears fill her eyes. We argued at the gas station. He wanted to shoot the clerk. I said no one was supposed to get hurt. We fought over the gun, and it just went off. And your solution was to frame me? The anger I've been containing threatens to spill over. I panicked, she admits. The clerk was screaming. Marcus was bleeding out, and your jacket and gun were right there. I just ran. And then when the police started looking for a suspect, it seemed easier to let them think it was you. Easier, I echo, the word tasting bitter. 6 years of my life, Amy. They were going to execute me. I know, she whispers, and I'll never forgive myself for that. But Jason, you have to believe me. I never thought it would go that far. I thought maybe a few years in prison, and then I'd find a way to get you out. By doing what? Confessing? She shakes her head. I don't know. I didn't think it through. And then when they gave you the death penalty, I just froze. And the evidence? My jacket, my gun, the items you stole from my apartment? I took your jacket that day I came to get my things, she admits. The gun was already in Marcus's car. He'd taken it from your apartment weeks before, when I let him in while you were at work. The casual way she describes their betrayal makes me sick. And the other items? My watch, my ring, insurance, she says softly, in case I needed to prove our relationship was real. It was real to me, I say, the words escaping before I can stop them. She reaches across the table, her handcuffs rattling against the ring. It was real to me too, Jason. That's what makes this so horrible. I loved you. I still don't. I cut her off. Don't say it. We sit in silence for a long moment, the weight of 6 years and countless lies hanging between us. Will you tell them everything? I finally ask. On the record? About the robbery, the gun, how you framed me? She nods slowly. Yes, it's time. And she does. For the next 3 hours, Amy confesses to everything. The relationship with Marcus, the planned robbery, the accidental shooting, the deliberate framing. She details how she planted evidence, how she manipulated the investigation, how she collected the insurance money and planned her eventual escape. When it's over, Ramirez enters the room and formally arrests her for the murder of Marcus Chen and a list of other charges, so long it takes him nearly a minute to recite them all. As they lead her away, she looks back at me one last time. I'm sorry, Jason, for everything. I don't respond. 6 years of my life can't be returned with an apology. Weber stays behind, her expression triumphant. This changes everything. The judge will vacate your conviction immediately. You could be out by the end of the week. I should feel elated, vindicated, but all I feel is hollow. What happens to her? With a full confession? Probably 25 to life, Weber says. The DA might push for more given the circumstances. I nod, unable to summon any satisfaction at the thought of Amy spending decades behind bars. All I can think about is the time we've both lost me to prison, her to lies. That night I dream of Sarah's bakery again, but this time it's not burning. It's just empty. The table's cleared away. The display case is bare. A for lease sign in the window. In my dream, I stand outside looking in, remembering what it once was, unable to bring it back. When I wake up, I know it's time to let go of the past and focus on the future. A future that, for the first time in 6 years, actually actually exists. I'm standing at the courtroom doors, my hands trembling slightly as Weber adjusts my tie. It feels strange wearing a suit after years of prison orange. The fabric is too smooth, the collar too stiff, but Weber insisted I look presentable for the cameras waiting outside. Remember, she says, checking her watch, let me do the talking. The judge's decision is just a formality at this point, but the media circus is going to be intense. I nod, not trusting my voice. After 6 years, 3 months, and 17 days, I'm about to walk out of this courthouse a free man. The thought is both exhilarating and terrifying. The bailiff opens the door. They're ready. The courtroom is packed. Journalists, legal observers, even a few faces I recognize from my old life. My parents aren't among them. They stopped visiting after the second appeal failed, convinced of my guilt despite my protests. I wonder if they're watching this on TV, if they'll call to apologize when it's over. Judge Harriman, a stern woman with silver-rimmed glasses, who presided over my original trial, looks different now. There's something in her expression I didn't see 6 years ago. Regret, maybe. In light of the overwhelming evidence and the confession provided by Amy Davidson, she begins, her voice echoing in the suddenly silent room. This court has no choice but to vacate the conviction of Jason Harris in the murder of Marcus Chen. She pauses, removing her glasses. Mr. Harris, on behalf of the state, I offer our sincere apologies for this grave miscarriage of justice. You are hereby ordered released from custody immediately. The gavel comes down with a crack that seems to reverberate through my bones. Just like that, it's over. 6 years of my life reduced to a 30-second statement and the bang of a wooden hammer. Weber squeezes my shoulder. Congratulations, she whispers. You're free. Free. The word feels foreign, abstract. What does freedom even mean after 6 years on death row? Outside, the media swarms like hungry piranhas. Microphones thrust toward my face, cameras flashing, voices shouting questions over each other. How does it feel to be exonerated? Will you sue the state for compensation? Have you spoken to Amy Davidson since her confession? What's the first thing you'll do as a free man? Weber steps forward, raising her hands. My client has been through an ordeal most of us cannot imagine. He was days away from execution for a crime he did not commit. Today, justice has finally been served, but it cannot erase the 6 years stolen from him. She continues with practiced eloquence while I stand beside her, overwhelmed by the noise, the crowd, the open sky above me. No walls, no bars, no schedules dictating my every move. Mr. Harris will be pursuing maximum compensation under the state's wrongful conviction statute, Weber concludes. Now, he asks for privacy as he begins the difficult process of rebuilding his life. She guides me through the crowd to a waiting car, shielding me from the most aggressive reporters. As we slide into the back seat, she hands me a folder. Initial paperwork for your compensation claim, she explains as the driver pulls away from the curb. The state caps wrongful conviction payouts at $50,000 per year of incarceration, but given the circumstances, death row, clear evidence of prosecutorial misconduct, we can likely negotiate a much larger settlement. Money. It seems so trivial after everything that's happened. What price tag do you put on 6 years of your life? On the relationships destroyed, the career derailed, the constant fear of imminent death? What about Amy? I ask, watching the courthouse shrink in the rear window. Weber's expression hardens slightly. She took a plea deal, 25 years with possibility of parole after 15. The DA wanted to push for life without parole, but her full confession and cooperation made the difference. 25 years. By the time Amy gets out, she'll be older than I am now. The thought brings no satisfaction, just a hollow ache where anger used to be. Where are we going? I ask, suddenly realizing I have nowhere to go. My apartment was rented to someone else years ago. My possessions sold or stored, who knows where. Hotel for now, Weber says. The state is covering it while we sort out your settlement. After that, it's up to you. The hotel room is bigger than my cell, with windows that actually open and a bed soft enough to swallow me whole. I stand under the shower for nearly an hour, letting hot water wash away the lingering scent of prison that seems embedded in my skin. On the television, my face is everywhere. Local stations have interrupted regular programming for special reports on my case. Legal experts dissect the failures of the original investigation, pointing to rushed conclusions, overlooked evidence, the convenient narrative of a jealous ex-boyfriend. This case represents a systemic failure, says a former prosecutor on Channel 7. The detective work was sloppy, the forensic analysis incomplete. They built their case backward, starting with Harris as the suspect, and ignoring anything that didn't fit that theory. Another channel shows footage of Detective Ramirez at a press conference, looking haggard. We reopened the investigation based on Mr. Harris's meal request, which referenced a location that couldn't possibly have existed at the time of the murder. From there, we uncovered a deliberate frame-up orchestrated by the actual perpetrator. I turn it off, unable to watch anymore. My exoneration is just today's entertainment, my 6 years of hell condensed into sound bites between commercial breaks. 3 days later, Weber calls with news. The state has offered a $2.5 million settlement far above the statutory minimum in exchange for waiving my right to sue for additional damages. It's a good offer, she says. Clean, quick, no years of litigation. You could start fresh anywhere you want. I accept. No amount of money will give me back what I've lost, but it's something. A foundation to build whatever comes next. The money arrives 2 weeks later, after a flurry of paperwork and meetings with financial advisors, Weber recommended. I buy a modest house on the outskirts of town, a used car that doesn't draw attention, clothes that fit properly. Normal things that feel surreal after years of owning nothing. Reporters eventually lose interest. My story fades from the headlines, replaced by newer tragedies, fresher outrages. I'm grateful for the anonymity, for the chance to relearn how to exist in the world without constant scrutiny. I try contacting my parents, but the call goes to voicemail. I leave a message they don't return. Some wounds, it seems, don't heal just because the truth comes out. One morning in early spring, about 3 months after my release, I find myself driving downtown without any clear destination. The city has changed in subtle ways. New buildings, different storefronts, unfamiliar traffic patterns. I feel like a tourist in a place I once knew intimately. I turn onto 4th Avenue almost by instinct and slow down as I approach the block where Sarah's Bakery once stood. The building has been renovated, its charred skeleton transformed into something sleek and modern. A sign above the door reads, 4th Avenue Cafe and Bakery. I park across the street, staring at the storefront. Same location, different name. I wonder if they make apple pie. Inside, the cafe is bright and airy, nothing like the cozy, cluttered warmth of Sarah's. Young professionals tap on laptops. Couples lean across small tables. A barista with purple hair creates elaborate latte art. "Can I help you?" asks a woman behind the counter. Her name tag reads Sarah, and for a moment I think I'm hallucinating. "Are you?" I begin, then stop myself. This Sarah is maybe 30, with dark curls and freckles. Nothing like the older woman who ran the original bakery. She smiles. "First time here? We opened about 6 months ago. Previous owner sold the space after sitting vacant for years." "Do you make apple pie?" I ask. "Best in the city," she says with pride. "My grandmother's recipe. Sarah Sr.'s specialty before the fire." "Sarah Sr.? My mom," she explains. "This was her place originally, but she couldn't face rebuilding after the fire. Too many memories, you know. But I convinced her to let me revive it last year." I order a slice of pie and a coffee, taking them to a corner table by the window. The pie tastes different, more cinnamon, less nutmeg, but it's good in its own way. As I eat, I pull out the folded newspaper article I've carried since my release. The headline reads, "Wrongfully convicted man freed after 6 years on death row." Sarah approaches with a coffee pot. "Refill?" I nod, and as she pours, her eyes catch the headline. She freezes, coffee overflowing my cup before she pulls back with an apology. "That's you," she says quietly, recognition dawning. "You're the one they almost executed." "That's me," I confirm, mopping up the spilled coffee with a napkin. She sits down uninvited, eyes wide. "Mom talked about your case sometimes. She remembered you and your girlfriend coming in on Sundays. She always said something felt wrong about your conviction." I smile faintly. "Your mom has good instincts." "She's in the back," Sarah says suddenly. "Would you like to meet her?" I think it would mean a lot. Before I can answer, she's gone, returning moments later with an older woman I recognize immediately. Sarah Sr.'s hair is grayer now, her face more lined, but her eyes are the same kind, observant, missing nothing. "Mr. Harris," she says, extending her hand. "I never thought I'd see you again. I never thought I'd taste your apple pie again," I reply, standing to shake her hand. She smiles, gesturing to the chair across from me. "May I?" We talk for nearly 2 hours. She tells me about the fire, electrical, started in the kitchen after hours, and her struggle to move forward. I tell her about prison, about Amy's betrayal, about the meal request that saved my life. "I don't understand why you asked for pie from a place you knew had burned down," she says finally. I consider this, realizing I've never fully articulated it even to myself. I think I wanted to remember something good before the end, something real from my life before everything went wrong. The security footage of Amy and me here was my last happy memory. Sarah Sr. reaches across the table, patting my hand. "Well, I'm glad my pie brought you back to us, even if it was just the memory of it." As I prepare to leave, she disappears into the kitchen, returning with a small box. "On the house," she says. "A whole pie to take home." I accept it. This simple gift that represents more than she can possibly know, not just food, but connection to the world I thought I'd lost forever. "Would you mind signing something for me?" I ask, pulling out the exoneration papers I've kept in my glove compartment, to remind me that sometimes things do come back, even when you think they're gone for good. She signs the margin with a flourish, adding a small sketch of a pie. As I walk out into the spring sunshine, pie box in one hand and signed papers in the other, I feel something shift inside me. Not healing exactly, but the beginning of whatever comes after survival. 6 years of my life are gone forever. Amy is behind bars. Marcus Chen is still dead. Sarah's bakery burned down and became something new. Nothing can change those facts. But I'm here, eating apple pie that tastes almost like I remember, breathing free air, planning tomorrows I never thought I'd have. It's not the life I expected, but it's mine again. And for today, that's enough.